Howdy friends, what's going on? This is David Potts with Song Notes, and I have a lesson for you today for Tonight, the Smashing Pumpkins classic from 1995. So as you see right here, I have this PDF chord sheet I made. It's 5 pages. You can get it at my website, playsongnotes.com. This is lesson 350. Now the first page of this is going to give you the lyrics for the entire song with all the chords in line. This is all handwritten by me, edited by me to make sure it's just right and perfect, right? I also have some chord diagrams on there, and I have the riff for the picking sequence on there, and some strumming stuff, all on page 1. Now pages 2, 3, 4, 5 are going to give you everything you need to know to really get deep in learning this song, right? Page 2 will show you all 4 guitar parts in just one page, so you can sort of study that. And then pages 3, 4, and 5 will give you a bunch of alternative chord voicings you can use for some of the more difficult parts of this song, because I don't really believe that there is one correct way to play any given song. I think it's all about you as a guitarist, where your skill level is, and also what you want to put into the song, right? Sometimes you want an arrangement that's slightly different. So I'm going to give you a bunch of building blocks that'll let you sort of put the song together the way you want, right? You get it over at my website. And a final note before I get into it is I'm going to be in standard tuning for this lesson, right? And the reason for that is Smashing Pumpkins tuned down 1/2 step. You can do that if you want. You can use what I show you, and you can play along with them. But I want to keep things simple and approachable. Most of you probably have your guitar in standard tuning already. I'm going to ride with that. So just a quick note I wanted to call out. And with that said, let's get into the lesson. Jump ahead if you know what you're looking for. Thanks to all of you who are supporting me on Patreon. It means so much to me. It keeps me going with the hard work that goes into these PDF chord sheets. So I have several hundred of these chord sheets available to you. Get them at my website, but enough talk. Let's get into that lesson, and I'll see you on the other side. Let's go. All right, so we're going to kick this lesson off, y'all, by looking at the 4 main guitar sequences that this song uses. Now, this song has verse, an intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and the second verse is played differently than the first verse. So it gets tricky when you look at how it goes from start to finish, but for all the complexities, it only uses 4 main guitar parts. So the first part is this G and E minor sort of riff, right? And this is the least flashy of all the riffs. The basic idea here is you're going to be on G for 4 measures, and then eventually you're going to switch to E minor for 4 measures. Now you have this at the very beginning of the song and also in the second verse, right? But there's one thing that they're doing on the guitar that makes it kind of distinct is on the G and on the E minor, there's what I have in my tab here is like a double star, double asterisk. You're going to add 1 or 2 fingers to the chord, depending on your skill level, that are going to basically mix it up. So you'll do a measure of normal G, then you'll do a measure of the modified G, then you'll go back to the regular G. You do that twice, then E minor, same thing. In context, you hear this in the second verse, which is the same melody as the first verse, right? Just a quick preview of that. So, then you know you're never sure, but you're sure you could be right. La da 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 da. And it repeats, right? So you're going to do that another time or two. And in the second of these 4 sequences, we're going to do this fun picking riff, and it's going to be going from a C bass note to a D bass note, and we're going to do that 3 times, right? One more time, and then we're going to go to an E bass note. That's why I'm calling it an E minor, and then a G bass note. So I'm calling that a G, right? And the basic idea is you're going to use this picking pattern for all these. I'll teach you this later. Right? You do it 3 times at first. Okay, and you might notice that when you're saying, believe, believe in me, believe. And then we move on to the third sequence, which is believe that life can change, that you're not stuck in vain. La-di-da, da-di-da. And then we move on to the fourth sequence, which is tonight. Okay, so those are basically the 4 sequences, and with what I just showed you, we can play the entire song. All right, so let's get into these now individually, and I'll show you some easy chord voicings you can do, and just gives you some general tips to sort of have fun with this song, okay? And let's get into it. So the first of these is going to be this G and E minor riff that I told you about. Now, again, the idea is, instead of just doing four measures of a regular G, we want to add these like single notes. What I just played you right there was the sort of thickest 4-string version, as I call it. This is on page 4 of my PDF. This one is, I think, the easiest because you're only limiting to 4 of the strings, right? The thickest 4 strings. And all we're going to do is put one finger down. We're going to put our ring finger down on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. So we go from this, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we go to the E minor. And for the E minor, we're keeping our index finger exactly where it is on the G, putting our middle finger down on the 4th string, 2nd fret, and then same deal. And put our ring finger down in the same place. So if we were to do all down strums, 8 down strums per chord, then E minor, that's the sort of easiest way to do that. Now, there's a couple other ways to do it. One is to do what I call a full strum version, and this is like if you want like an acoustic, brighter version of this, right? We could get into... What I'm doing here is using 2nd string, 1st fret. That's going to be the note I'm going to add to the G. You got to use your ring finger on the low E string of the G. Then E minor. Okay, so the idea is for both for the G and for the E minor, we want to add this finger on alternating measures. And you can use whatever strumming pattern you can want. You can do all down strums. Okay, or you could do something loose and free like I was doing earlier. Now, the most advanced version of these is what I see some other guys do for lessons on this, which is where you're going to go back to that thickest 4-string version, but we're going to add that 5th string. So go all the way to the 2nd thinnest string. And we're going to put our ring finger down like I told you, but we're also going to do our pinky on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And for both the G and the E minor, we're basically going to put these 2 fingers down. Ring finger on the C note, 5th string, 3rd fret, and then pinky on the D note, which is 2nd string, 3rd fret. This one's kind of tricky because it gets crowded a little bit. And you're sure you could never leave. This one takes a lot more practice. Only after a few days do I finally feel a little bit comfortable. But it's all in my PDF. Pick which of these versions is easiest for you. And if you want to just keep it really simple, just stay on a regular G and a regular E minor. Don't worry about adding anything, okay? So whenever you see a G and an E minor with the double stars on my page 1 of the PDF, you could just use whatever I just showed you that fits for your skill level and you'll be in good shape. Now let's go to this second riff, which is the C. This is a fun one to play. The cool part is, again, bass notes. C, D, E, G, right? From 3rd to 5th to 7th to 10th. That's all we're going to be doing with our left hand. That's your only left hand job for this entire thing. You could use one finger like I just did, right? 3 to 5 to 7 to 10. Or you could, do 3 and then go to your ring finger up here. So 3 to 5. Because you're gonna go back and forth between the 3rd and the 5th quite a bit. Now, for the picking pattern, the idea is to go from 5th string to 2nd string to 3rd string, and then repeat that, 5th second, third, and then fifth to third. So that pattern you need to get good, and this is get really tricky because it requires you to have some pick dexterity and also pick accuracy, right? Basically, once you get that pattern, all you do is use the same pattern, but then change your left hand note, right? So if we go from the 3rd fret, which is the C, then to the D, same pattern, back, up, back, up, up, up. Okay, so that's basically all we're gonna do for that. Now again, this is really, really tricky. A couple tips is if you're having trouble with it, put your pick down. Get your left hand, memorize 3 to 5 to 7 to 10. Memorize that, right? You gotta get that feel. Use your dots as reference, whatever. And then for without a pick, thumb on 5th string, index finger on 3rd string, middle finger on 2nd string. Keep these there. And then basically, I found this very helpful to get a feel for this because each of these fingers is assigned to one string. You're not having to jump, right? When you're jumping with your pick, it's tricky because it's one pick going to many strings. Here, these are each the lords of each of these strings, and then you can let them... This lets you get a feel for the pattern, in my opinion. I mean, it's going to come down to what works for you, right? But that's one trick. Another trick is to get rid of the pattern altogether. Just get comfortable doing this, right? You could just do sort of bass note and then strum 2nd and 3rd string together. You could do that as well. So yeah, hopefully this is helpful for you, and that's how you do that cool picking riff. Now let's move on to the G and D minor, G, D over F sharp, and E minor riff, okay? 3 different ways to play this. One is to do what's like the most classic voicings of these, which is a full regular G, and then you do a D chord, and you just use your thumb on the low E string 2nd fret. To be honest, this is tricky, and this took me many years before I could do it confidently, and even still, I feel like I kind of muffle it. So don't feel like you have to sort of make this one work. And I say basic in my PDF here because it's like basic chord voicing. It's like it's common, it's familiar. That's what I mean. I don't mean it's easy to play. One trick is sort of bring your arm in because it helps you sort of roll your thumb over, right? As opposed to if you're coming at your guitar neck with like a perpendicular 90-degree arm, it's going to be harder ergonomically to make it work. So G to D over F sharp, E minor, 2, 3, 4. That's one way to do it. Another version is to keep your left ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And then for the D over F sharp, you're going to use your index and middle fingers on the 2nd frets. Keep your ring finger where it is on that 3rd fret. And I leave the D string open, high E string open here for that 2nd chord. That matches what you hear that the strings are playing, I think, on the Smashing Pumpkins version, right? Those are the sort of melody notes there, inferred by the album. This one's tricky too, okay? Don't necessarily feel like it's going to come easy. Let me show you this 3rd version. The 3rd version is basically... it's doing the bass notes by themselves in the 1 count. So bass note, strum, bass note, strum, bass note, strum. And this one for the D over F sharp, all we're doing is using either our index or middle finger to do a 2nd fret pluck. And then we're going to sort of mute the 5th string just by keeping that finger touching it lightly. And then we just do the same strum for the thinnest strings that we did in the G, right? So G bass note, F sharp bass note, E minor bass note. Okay, so pick your poison here. You could just do, the simplest version is a G to a D to an E minor. That would work just fine. So that's what you're gonna need chord-wise for those. And then let's look at this last one, which is this C, from a C to a G over B to a D. Again, basic version, not that it's easy, but like the most common chord shapes is do your regular C. I kind of avoid the thinnest string. Then do a G over B. I likewise avoid the thinnest string. And then a D. And again, I kind of avoid the thinnest string. I have it in parentheses here because that's where your note, that's what you would be playing in the second fret of the high string. You don't have to. You can if you want. Tonight, 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 tonight. Okay, and then the other version is sort of C add 9 version where we're going to do a C but keep our ring finger on that third fret of the second string. Keep it there for the G over B. Keep it there for the C, or for the D, I'm sorry. And then add in an open high E string and then back to the third fret of the second string. So all right, that's how you do that. All right, so the last part I want to show you here is how to do the intro of this song. Now, technically, the intro uses just the sequences I've already showed you. It kind of mixes and matches. But what I like to do is this sort of secret stash version I'm going to show you here, where I'm going to imitate the strings that you hear on the album version, right? That give that like the thrust of that intro. It has such like drive, but it has a melody that's from these strings, and I want to use those on an acoustic guitar here. So basically, in my tab, the golden notes are the sort of melody notes, right? And I have my fingering positions too. So for the first one, it's a G. Then you go to your regular. I showed you this already. End on a G. But it's this first part I want to show you here, right? So what's going on is basically this would be the G and E minor riffs I showed you. So the idea is I was kind of doing a constant strum, but again, I was never playing anything higher in pitch than the melody note I have circled here. So that first note is a G chord, second string, third fret. I'm just doing strums on the G, and I'm letting that note ring the highest. Then you let that note off, then you go to the second fret of the third string. So okay, so now to the third string. Then you sort of walk back up, right? Thickest 4 strings. To an E minor, thinnest string. Using my pinky on the second fret of the third string for that sort of melody note. Then the thickest 4 strings. Then you just resume. All right, so that's how you're going to do the sort of intro melody if you want to do it like myself. So now we have all the parts. Why don't we do a quick playthrough to the best of my ability. Now I'm not going to attempt to sing. Yeah, hopefully that gives you what you need to know. And again, you can get this PDF on over at my website, playsongnotes.com. It's 5 pages. This is a beast of a song, but I really wanted to do it justice because it's been requested for quite a bit, and it's a great song. So I hope you find this helpful. And let's get into this now.